Hey everybody, welcome to This Life Podcast with me, Dr. Drew. And This Life hashtag You Live is a live broadcast today. Mike Carano in studio with us. Mike, welcome.
That could be nerve-wracking.
It could be if we wanted it to be, but we're not going to let it, right?
Well, it's up to the universe.
It's up to you. Today's episode, courtesy of Gainswave and Social CBD. Thanks go out to those guys. We appreciate their support and you guys supporting those products. Go to drdrew.com for all the details. Call number today to be a part of the show. We got a bunch of calls lined up, so I'm going to try to get to everybody. It is 636-334-3999. Again, 636-334-3999. And at the end of the show, we're going to have a special preview of a new show that is coming. In other words, at 1 o'clock, we're going to switch to this new show. Stick around for that. We'll give you all the links at drdrew.com. And also, is it drdrew.tv? Go to drdrew.tv for the details and sign up there.
Is the new show alcohol and drug reviews?
No, if you like it to be.
Way?
Whatever you like it to be, Mike. So, no, it's going to be a live call-in show, sort of like Loveline-esque.
Okay.
I'll just answer questions. And that's kind of what's happening today, and you're going to help me out with that.
I hope so.
Okay. So how you been?
I've been pretty good.
Yeah.
How have you been?
Busy. I was a crazy eagle.
I saw that. So, people were very surprised. I got texts from people going, "You knew about this, right?" And I was like, "Nope."
Nobody knew about it. Susan knew about it, and that was about it.
Yeah. How did you get the costume and stuff? Like, where did you go to try that on?
It's in Glendale. There's a costume
secret
factory.
location.
Secret location.
Now, how does your voice come through that mask?
There's a mesh here, and it's a very sensitive microphone.
Okay.
And weirdly, what I don't understand is why the mic wasn't hitting the. I hit the mesh all the time, and Mike did not pick that up.
Oh, they may have fixed that in editing.
Maybe.
But was it difficult?
The whole operation?
Was it less nerve-wracking doing it with a costume on?
It was different nerve-wracking.
Yeah. Did you get to pick your costume?
No. Well, sort of. They bring you in there and they say, give us.
We got a slug costume. We got an eagle costume.
They do, but they first go, give us some thought. Come on with some ideas. And I came in and I was thinking bald eagle because I wanted to keep the song sort of in American anthems and Frank Sinatra stuff. And I thought, bald eagle. And before I said anything, they said, we're thinking you should be the eagle. Isn't that weird? And I said, fine. But so I learned all these songs. I had a vocal problem. I had to get retrained. I had a varice on my vocal cords and a hemorrhage on my cords. All my mid-range was just gone. So I was dealing with all this medical stuff. And then I put the costume on after I learned about 15 songs. And I was like, oh, God damn it. This is a rock and roll character. I have to start over. We have to do rock songs.
Is it possible you were overthinking it?
No, it was clear. In fact, the costume people were like, this is Jimi Hendrix. Do you understand?
Okay.
And then the producers are like, do you understand the character's an important part of this? I thought, I got it. We got to start over. Yeah, and so to your point about it, different nerve-wracking, you have a cloak of invisibility on, right?
Yeah.
So that's fun. And the character kind of pushes you. It kind of drives the whole thing. And that was intense.
Where were your arms?
Because I don't do that. It's nothing I'm familiar with or knew what I was doing or was comfortable with. It was just intense. Was what?
Where were your arms?
I had eagle. My wings were under my arms.
But was it flexible and stuff?
Oh, yeah. It kind of had a weird hinge on it, so I could do this. And if you notice when I flap my ears, I kind of do this. So.
Do you want to keep that costume?
No, but one of the producers sat me down. Well, yes, one of the producers sat me down before my performance and goes, I spent so goddamn much money in this costume. You better stick around for a while. I was like, oh, no pressure.
Because it would be cool to go trick-or-treating in that costume and see how many people recognized it.
It would be cool. The costumes, I think, go on tour on their own, like around the world.
Wow.
And they're expensive.
We are desperate for entertainment.
Well, when Corolla first saw me, he just goes, okay, that's not an American format, right? Some Asian country developed it. They look it up, South Korea.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Isn't that funny? So what's up with you? You want to talk about the film or anything?
No.
No?
I want to get right into questions.
Well, first, we got our friend Kat Timpf on the line.
All right.
Let's get Kat up. Kat, of course, you know her on Fox News. And also Tyrus and Timpf, the podcast, and also sincerely, Kat. Kat, are you there? Uh-oh.
Oh, we've got to call her.
You have to call her?
Oh, no, we're fine. Let me just text her really quick.
Oh, my God, you guys are too much. Why don't I take a call? Because Mike.
What I'd really like you to talk about is your time at the White House.
Oh, so I went to the White House.
I saw.
Yeah, that was weird. So I've been pretty upset about the homeless thing, right?
Yeah.
And I know
understatement of the year.
Yeah, I know what can be done about it, and it makes me crazy that it's not getting done. So somebody set me up at the White House to go talk to the Domestic Policy Committee, which was like crazy intense, like sitting right next to the Oval Office talking to the people that are directly under the president. It's a weird experience. And they're listening. They're really smart people, and they are listening. So I think something will happen. I think it is. But it's going to take a little time because not only...
What do you want them to do?
I want them to change the Lanterman and Petrus Act and expand gravely disabled. I want them to do a FEMA-style emergency. It's an emergency. FEMA-style triage.
Specifically for certain cities or for everywhere?
Oh, it's all over Southern California. For sure, I'm worried about Los Angeles and generally, but Seattle, Oregon. I mean, this should be just done. And they should just go city by city. And then the problem is once they're triaged, then what? And so this is the part I'm kind of working on now. There needs to be psychiatric beds in residential facilities.
Triage means they drive up in a white van.
Triage means come with us, meet with this doctor, let's get a diagnosis and figure out what you need.
Okay.
That's triage. It's assessment and referral. And
now, we discussed this before, but that's probably going to be done with force.
Yeah, like an emergency. Like if this is an emergency, you got to do this, and that's the way it goes. And you got to understand, people who are on the streets, the LA Times finally published an article last week that said, we were wrong, 85% of the people on the streets have mental illness or addiction.
Okay, what did they say before?
29%.
Okay.
And by the way, 85% conservative. That's conservative. It's more like 90, 95%. And people that have addiction, think about when you were using. Think about your insight into what was happening.
Oh, yeah. No, it's all jumbled.
Okay,
it's all
so
chaos.
that's what that.
There is no logic.
There's no insight. There's no logic. And
I know I should be doing this, but this sounds better.
Right. And so there's at a certain point, if you can't move along or you can't find a place to live, you can't handle your medical problems, we have to step in. That's okay. Every other country on earth does that, by the way. Every other country on earth does that. We've decided we don't take care of our sick people. So you have a condition when you're like that called anosognosia. It's the same thing you get from a stroke, where if you have a left-sided stroke, you can literally show the person their hand, it'll flop, and they'll go, I don't know what you're talking about. It blocks insight. Mental illness does the same thing. Blocks insight.
Absolutely.
So think now how you feel about that now.
We've all done this, even with just drinking. Like midnight. Hey, who wants to drive to Vegas right now? Everybody.
Well, that's just poor judgment.
No, but I'm saying you're clouded.
Yeah,
you're clouded.
Anosognosia literally blocks your ability to see what's going on. You could say I'm Jesus and I'm seeing angels and I'm hearing God talk to me and could be mutilating myself, and you go, hey, do you see what?
Yeah.
What? I'm talking to Jesus. Relax. They don't see it. It's a block, and that has to be dealt with. That every civilized nation on earth does that. We don't. And it's part of it's because of the Lanterman and Petrus Act. That needs to be expanded. We need to expand conservatorship. We need to focus on mental health. And it is the great argument I have with people on homeless side. I had an argument with the mayor of Pasadena. He goes, we have 800 homeless people here, and what they need is a place to stay and wraparound services. I said, Mayor, you're focusing on the place to stay. What about the wraparound services? Well, they just need a place to stay. I said, no. And wraparound services. Do you know where you provide wraparound services? You know where that whole concept came from? Psychiatric hospitals.
Okay.
So needing wraparound services defines you as a mental health patient. Defines it. If you have your appendix out, you're not getting wraparound services. Wraparound services means psychologist, chemical dependency counselor, social worker, vocational rehab, physician, psychiatrist. That's wraparound services. That's brain
Is
disorder.
The cost of this just going to be insignificant compared to other stuff we spend money on?
Yes.
Okay.
They have the money for it, no problem. So, Kat, do we have Kat yet? Is Kat there? Kat Temp, are you there? Kat, I hear you.
Hey.
I hear you meowing.
So here's the
Can you hear me?
I hear you. You're loud and clear. Here's the craziness. So Kat calls me on Wednesday night. She goes, wait a minute. I just got a text. You were dancing around in an eagle costume? And I go, yeah. And she goes, no. Wait a minute. Tell me, were you dancing in an eagle costume? I said, yes.
Yeah, you were. Well, I thought it made sense that it was an eagle because you are America's doctor.
So funny. How are you? Look at you. You're on video behind us. This is fantastic.
How did the eagle become America's bird?
Oh, hang on to that.
I don't know, but I also thought it was not fair that you didn't get through. Not the singing and the dancing, but the pants. The fact that you time traveled all the way back to 1975 to get those bell bottoms.
I know.
Time travel's not getting you through.
Yeah, time travel isn't getting enough credit.
And he hates the 70s.
Yeah. And I hate the 70s. That's right. Which,
My-
I wish I'd sung The Doors, something like that. That would have been really more
You could
interesting.
have.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
technically
I don't know.
60s, though. But
Yeah.
Did you get to pick your song?
Kind of. And I actually, that song I'd never heard before and did not pick it. The process of the songs. Yeah, the process, and I've never sung anything rock before, so I had to retrain everything on that. But the song selection thing was weird. It was a sort of mystical process. It was not straightforward.
So when you were doing this, was that your move, or was that a move? Was that a move that they gave you?
They have a choreographer that gives all the moves.
I love that
Because you
she's
look like
breaking
you
it
were like
down
a cave.
technically.
Here's
You
fun.
look-
Here's a funny.
you
Here's a
look
funny.
like you-
When you did this.
Yeah, no, it was all directed. But Kat,
Because you look like a caveman at the top of a mountain, like surveying a new bountiful land.
yeah.
I watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
I watched it 3 times.
Thank you, Kat. I appreciate that. What was I going to say? I had something actually.
Choreography?
Oh, the way that people guess who's in the costumes is positively bizarre. I mean, for instance, Jenny McCarthy thought it was Adam Carolla or Howard Stern.
What were the hints?
Radio and listening and that kind of stuff. But 2 people that will never do that show are those 2 guys.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Then my
I can't imagine
dancers-
Howard Stern doing that.
But check this out. This cracked me up completely. My dancers, I was sort of one of the favorites of the support staff.
Okay.
And my dancers thought I was Barack Obama. I swear to God. I swear to God.
They have such high expectations.
So, isn't that funny? And I have not spoken to anybody. What?
I know that you're an addiction specialist.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to ask you, as I was watching it, I had an idea maybe for people. If you ever have someone come to you and they're just like super addicted to like peyote, just have them watch that video because it's probably the same.
No,
That's how it felt. It was super psychedelic.
It was
Is peyote making a comeback?
No, it's in Kat's mind.
I think maybe I just did a ton of peyote. I'm not even sure what peyote is, to be honest with you.
Something you did in college.
But I've always
College did
thought.
that.
No, what is it? I actually don't know.
It's a sort of a cactus derivative. It's got some hallucinogen in it. But here's
But it's
the deal.
psychedelic,
If
right?
you were on, and if you were on peyote and then saw that footage, it would blow your mind so severely you'd never do peyote again. That's the point. So
that's how you get people off peyote.
I get you, Kat. So tell me a little bit what's coming up on Sincerely Kat and Tyrus and Timph.
Well, the new episode that's out right now of Sincerely Kat, we have Sam Roberts from Jim and Sam, and he's an old buddy of mine, and it's a really great episode. And we have a funny sketch too, where I help people read between the lines and see what the thing that someone's saying to them, like what the other person really means.
Oh my God, I love
Next week we have Gianno Caldwell, my colleague at Fox News.
Hey, what's
and
up
Tyrus
with
and Tim were just rocking and rolling.
What's up with the
What's
Shepherd
up with
Smith?
what?
Do you know about the Shepherd
I
Smith?
have I know exactly what everyone else does.
I look at
Nothing.
what's being printed about it, and I know him because I remember when I left HLN, they got that story completely wrong. So I know whatever I'm reading, it's completely wrong. It has nothing to do with whatever happened.
Right. I know. When I got fired from Ruby Tuesday, same thing.
What was your job? Were you a hostess or were you a waitress?
I was a waitress.
Is there any job you?
And I wasn't a good one.
She was a newscaster here in Los Angeles in the helicopter doing traffic.
Okay.
And everything Kat has done up to the present moment, she is fired from because she wasn't a good one.
I was fired from that.
Whatever it was, she wasn't a good one.
Wasn't a good one. I was really good. Like they said, my voice was really good, but I kept giving wrong directions. Like I would be sending people into traffic.
You were too ugly for the news.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
No, that's why I have these glasses. Nobody looks ugly in these glasses.
I'm being very facetious.
So
I'm just saying nobody looks ugly in these glasses. They're magic glasses.
So we have a call. Is that for Kat, a call coming up?
No, we have an email that you're going to read, number 1.
Okay. All right.
I didn't know that like really beautiful people could get fired. I thought that was not a thing that happened.
Kat, you found a new
very beautiful person.
You've got a new fan in Mike Carano. How about that? It's true. So here's a question. All right, the reason I'm writing to you, I'm a reporter at a small CBS affiliate in Twin Falls, Idaho. I hear all the time about the vaping crisis and how vaping needs to stop. I've heard you say repeatedly that vaping is not the issue, and nicotine is not the issue, at least when it comes to adults. I'm writing to ask if there's any way I could get either an official statement from you for a 5-minute Skype interview or convenience, blah, blah, blah. Many people here are going back to tobacco products because of the scare on vaping. And to me, that's the worst news of all. Tobacco kills people, not nicotine. Period. End. Now, this young lady is an avid vapor. There she is right now.
Okay.
So what is your thought, Kat, on the whole vaping thing?
Well, I've done a lot of research on it, and the problem is the bootleg THC vapes, not the Juul, not the nicotine vapes. I spoke with a harm reduction researcher who is a doctor in pharmacology with a background in neuroscience as well.
Yep.
And she said she would be a single case of an illness or a death was due to nicotine because the problematic substances, such as the vitamin E acetate that are found in the
oil,
liquid, are for oil only, which you don't need for nicotine to heat it up. So the chemical properties, there would just never be a need for it. And it's just crazy that basically this is all black market stuff. So prohibition is the problem and government's trying to solve it. They're like, great idea, more prohibition.
Yeah. And so
now I have to traffic my mango vapes from New Jersey.
So did you quit smoking and start vaping?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't smoke at all anymore.
So tobacco kills
I did.
people, period. And in every study I've ever read, vaping is the superior product for stopping tobacco use.
Okay.
And as you know, if somebody gets addicted to nicotine, like gum or patches or anything, we just leave them on the nicotine. It's no problem.
Yeah.
And if you start using tobacco products in your early teen years, it's very unlikely you're ever going to get off nicotine, which is why, by the way, we're worried about people vaping in their teen years. We don't want that. But as adults, if it's
children, don't do it.
Right. If it's between cigarettes, tobacco, and vaping, you should be vaping. Now, having said that, it's a little more complicated. Now, what Kat just said was absolutely accurate, from my opinion. The government has actually done a really good job looking into this. They've done an exhaustive literature research. It's out there. I've got it on my phone somewhere. I forget the exact website, but they've got a really good website.
Do you think it was prompted by the tobacco industry?
The tobacco industry owns most of the vaping products.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So, and they own most of and they're getting into the cannabis thing big. So don't, whatever. Don't try to think about big business here yet, because it's all the same people. But they're going to take over. Big tobacco will be big cannabis. Don't you worry about that. I'm sure. But here's the deal. In this exhaustive literature research, there was only very few conclusions. I mean, it was a really well done series it was sort of a meta-analysis of everything that is out there. A, if you're adolescent, you shouldn't be using it. B, if you're asthmatic, you shouldn't be using it. C, there were 2 observed problems that remain to be resolved. In fact, there was a study just came out today on rats. Did you see that, Kat? The study on rats?
No.
I've got it on my phone.
I'm assuming they're not good.
They were not good. It seemed actually
I just did my own study. My conclusion, not good.
Yeah, it seemed actually too not good that I actually don't believe the study. 40 mice exposed to e-cigarettes essentially for a year, 22% developed lung cancer and some bladder lesions. 20 mice exposed to e-cigarettes without nicotine didn't get anything, as though the nicotine is the inciting influence in the cancer. I've never, ever, anybody's ever said that. So this study is sort of suspect to me.
Nicotine's also my best friend, so sorry. You wouldn't take a bladder stone for your best friend.
Yeah. Okay, but I will tell you
bladder stone can't tear apart love.
The 2, I haven't finished my C point yet, which is there were 2 observations in the studies that the government reviewed that showed inflammatory lesions in the lung in people using a lot of vape, not the nicotine, just vape per se of all types. And that was concerning for things like emphysema, though we don't know that it necessarily leads to that. And there were some DNA changes in some of the cells of lungs in a petri dish where they were literally blowing vape onto the cells. That makes you think, oh, could this be a problem or not? Maybe your body would repair it quite easily.
Wouldn't that contaminate it, though, if you were blowing vape onto it?
There's all kinds of problems with the kinds of studies.
Yeah, maybe these people just had gross breath.
Would you quit vaping if you could?
Would I quit? Yeah, probably, but I probably will quit it. You know, like I don't think I'm going to do this forever. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, which is good. I did for a while, and I was able to stop doing that. So I'm actually vaping less now than I was before. I used to breathe more Juul than air, and now I'm breathing a lot more air.
Yeah,
like I'm doing it right now.
I noticed that vape thing was hanging out of your mouth all the time when you first started stalking me.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you know that it's continuing. So
So we have a caller now. This is John from Florida. I met John on the Corolla Cruise.
Okay.
We were on the Corolla Cruise last weekend. And John is a vape advocate. John, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, John. We never get to talk on the ship, but we'll talk here. So
wait, how long were you on that ship?
3 or 4 days.
You never found time to talk to John?
They had me busy. They were running around. And there was a lot of people, right, John, wanting to talk.
I get it, John.
I was looking out for you, too, the entire time.
Thank you, buddy. So here we are. So you heard what I just said. Do you have anything to add or to push back on anything we've all said?
Well, I only heard what you said. I didn't hear what Kat had said.
Okay. It's an interesting point for our production team. But she was just really talking about her own personal experience and that she had talked to essentially a toxicologist.
Harm reduction specialist.
A harm reduction specialist, toxicologist, who was saying
that,
that it's not bottom line, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I agree as well. I was a 2.5 pack a day smoker for about 20 years, and the only way that I could stay stopped was by switching over to electronic nicotine delivery systems. And I don't need a doctor to tell me whether it's good for me or bad for me compared to smoking, because I know how I felt back on August 3rd, 2013, compared to how I feel now being a vapor.
The other thing about vaping I've noticed is that people seem, for whatever reason, more able to taper down than they can with cigarettes. Have you noticed that as well?
Yes, yeah, and we only I also own a retail store, and that's there's two different sides to the industry. There is the open system, which I participate in that side of the industry, and the closed systems, which are like the pre-filled pods. And so with the open side of the industry, we actually have a step-down program. So somebody can start with, a 36 milligram, go down to a 25, then down to a 12, and slowly but surely get themselves off of nicotine altogether.
Can you send this to Kat Timpf?
Yeah, I need it.
I've never spoken with her.
Well, I'm asking for a friend.
And he's not about
part
to
of this
start.
the habit?
Oh.
Well, is it something about the behavior you mean?
Yeah,
clearly, right? Because why wasn't the gum or the lozenge just as effective?
Yeah.
I think some of it is too the pharmacology of inhaling it through your lungs and the speed with which it gets to your brain. You know what I mean? Because when you have the entire surface area of your lung, it's one pass to your brain, and the lozenge has to goes through your liver and goes through your blood, and it's something to do with all of the above. So what's going to happen, John, to vaping in the current environment? What do you think?
Well, if nothing changes with the current regulatory framework from the FDA, all of the small to medium manufacturers are actually going to get forced out of the industry come May 2020 because of the pre-market tobacco application process. And so they're treating us like big tobacco. And so all of us small manufacturers need big tobacco money in order to go through the process, which is just physically impossible.
Wow. I'm looking at a quote from a professor at UC San Francisco. It says, people have been vaping for a long time and we haven't had a problem. It seems to be relatively safe, and that solvent that and the solvent that dissolves them. The question now is, when you start messing with the process, what are you adding to it? So in other words, the process, the simple open process that you're talking about, seems safe. Would that be accurate?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And then I think this article is about vaping of CBDs. You have any opinion about that?
I don't have any opinion when it comes to the CBD. The current lung issues that are happening. It's clear that that's from black market THC cartridges.
Right. So
and that has nothing to do with our industry.
Right. So from my perspective, Kat, do you know of any nicotine-related incidents that have been reported? and have been clearly
No.
related to the I don't either. So
No.
I would absolutely stop THC vaping just until we figure out what's going on.
Just because it's not regulated?
Because the cases have all been with THC,
Okay.
even though they were
Okay.
black market THC. Let's just let that work out before just to be responsible. I would throw CBD in the same category, just because again they're mixing oils and things in terms of how they produce these products, and then nicotine does not seem to be an issue. Now it again, as before you came on, John, I was saying the government has this great review out there that shows some inflammatory stuff and some DNA changes and things we have to really pay attention to, but certainly nowhere near the damaging effects of cigarettes.
Yes, and that's what people really have to realize when it comes to the vaping industry is we are harm reduction. We are not harm elimination.
Right.
So there's always going to be risk involved with putting anything into your lungs other than, clean, fresh mountain air.
Right.
And so it does not come risk-free. It is for smokers to make the switch, still be able to get satisfactory levels of nicotine and just not have the tar, which is what kills people.
Kat, sound about right?
I concur.
Would you like the reduced sort of methodology, the reducing?
Yeah, I should. I had to get a dental procedure done a couple months ago now, and I couldn't vape for 24 hours.
Uh-oh.
And I strapped 5 nicotine patches onto my body, and I didn't feel a thing.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting.
So
All
I'm
right.
quite addicted physically.
I'm going to say goodbye to John. John, thank you. It was great to talk to you. Thanks for being on that cruise.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, buddy. There we go. There goes John. And then, Kat, I'm going to let you go, too. Tell us where we can find you.
Greg Gutfeld show tonight, Fox News, 10 p.m. Sincerely Kat on Fox Nation. New episodes every Thursday. And then Tyrus and Tim's podcast, new episodes on foxnewspodcast.com every Friday.
Thank you for joining us. I didn't know every had an A in it. Every day.
Nice to meet you, Kat.
Every. You
Bye,
too.
Kat.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mike, any place you want to promote? Anything you want to promote before we go to break?
No.
Okay, we'll take a little break.
I'm here just to take calls, man.
It's Mike Ryan. I'm Dr. Drew. We'll take a little break. Be right back.
All right, keep your head on. Keep going. Okay, we have people who want to talk. We're going to go ahead and...
Oh, we're staying alive? Okay, we're going back to the lines now. This is...
I know I'm not supposed to say no when you ask me if I have anything to promote, but
No,
that's
it's always
bad
fine.
etiquette.
I'm not like Corolla who freaks out when somebody says no. No is a appropriate response. Oh my goodness, we have so many calls here. Hang on.
What does nicotine do to your body?
Oh my gosh, Christy, I want to talk to her. Look at this. I hope this is accurate. Christy, you there?
Yes. Hi, Dr. Drew.
How are you?
I don't know if you remember me. I'm doing wonderful.
Fantastic.
And I just want to tell you, you, almost 14 years ago, you saved my life. And October 25th, I will have 14 years.
Oh my God, congratulations.
Because
That's
of
such a big
you
deal.
helping me.
It wasn't just me. Is that whole
you saved my life.
that whole great team we had, Christy? It wasn't just me, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember I came in there and I was out for 3 days. I had a stroke and I woke up and you and Bob Forrest were sitting in front of me and you asked me why. You said, "Why do you want to be here?" And I said, "Because I don't want to die." And I had seizure patches on me and
Yep.
there was medications and I had gone through 8 different rehabs.
Wow.
And I said, "You know what? I don't want this. I just want to go to the groups and I want help." And you called me on so many different things. And I just want to let you know, because of you, my life is amazing. I have a 7-year-old little boy and I listen to everything you say and I still hear the things you told me. And I am so grateful. And I just want you to know that.
Thank you, Christy. I appreciate that.
That's pretty groovy.
It's very groovy.
What was your drug of choice?
Crack cocaine.
Wow.
And
That's a big one.
Yeah, it's a tough
and
one.
then and then right before I decided to shoot up, and then Dr. Drew said to me, you know, I had OD'd, and then he said to me, "I want to ask you an honest question." He said, "So did you do it again?" And I said, "I did." 3 hours later, and he said, "Great, because if you told me you didn't, you'd be a liar."
Wow.
he And he also, when I was about to leave, he told me, I'm worried, Christy, I'm worried an avalanche is coming. And if you don't really protect yourself and follow through these things, it's not going to happen. And I remember I thought, I'm going to prove him. I'm not going to fail. I'm going to follow through. And I always have done what he told me to do.
What do you do now to keep your sanity?
I'm sorry, what?
What do you do to stay normal?
Stay good.
Well, I have my spiritual foundation. I have my meetings. I have a very good support system. I definitely have 1,000 wonderful women in my life, and I've got the tools. And I still, to this day, when things are hard, I really do the 12 and 12 book. I'm a very spiritual person. You know, I also always remember to never let secrets keep you sick. So if something's going on with me, right?
That's a huge
So
one.
I make sure to share it with, that I share it with people that love me. And
that honesty thing
is
such a big one. It's more about being honest with yourself than with other people.
It's just rigorous honesty, because you start going down that slope and pretty soon you don't even realize where the truth is.
It's just embarrassing, though, when you're actually honest and you express your ego and your arrogance and your narcissism and stuff, and it's really difficult.
It is difficult.
You want people to think you're cool.
Yes, you do. Christy, it's so nice of you to call. Thank you so much. Congratulations on everything. You did all the work. I'm just, as some of my patients that like to humble me just say, I just sort of turned you in the right direction, and you did all the work, and I'm so glad you did. Oh, my God.
Yeah, nice story.
Okay, we got lots of very, oh, my, line 5, okay. Claudia?
Hi, Drew. Thanks for taking my call.
You bet. What's going on?
So, Dr. Drew, I hope you receive what I'm saying, because I have thousands of pain patients that are tuning in. Yes, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
I do.
Hi, Drew. So I'm calling on behalf of pain patients who can no longer access opioid therapy. The pendulum is swung, and we are in such a dire situation that we now have a suicide list. And if you're a doctor who's willing to prescribe opioids, you have a target on your back. And if you're a patient who's fortunate,
it depends. It depends on the state.
Hear me and receive me with compassion.
Hang on, Claudia. It depends on the state. It depends on the state. Some states are more. It's easier to give patients opiates than other states. Some states have gone really overboard.
No, that's not true, because I actually had to get legislation imposed in Rhode Island. But the grave situation here is I'm advocating for people with cancer who can no longer access opioids because doctors are fearful to prescribe.
That's crazy.
And here's the really, I think this is probably the cruelest form that's been brought to the pain community. These people have been forced to choose between benzodiazepines or pain medication, because we do know the lion's share of overdoses had both.
Yep.
But in 2019, all overdoses had one thing in common: illicit fentanyl. And that's the culprit that our government does not want to give attention to. But people with pain have been deleted from this country, and I think it's wonderful. People with addiction have been afforded empathy and compassion and wonderful medications like Suboxone. But in the interim, people with pain have been left homeless. Doctors have been sent to prison. The DEA, in conjunction with medical boards, are making billions off of this crisis.
The DEA.
I didn't ask to be born with Crohn's disease.
All right, so listen. So
when you live with Crohn's disease,
this is not a place for testimonials. I appreciate what you're saying. You could obviously say a lot more, because it's a complicated topic. I appreciate it. Opioids are for cancer pain. That's what they're for. They are a terrible treatment for chronic pain. That's why doctors do not prescribe it. There is zero evidence. In fact, opioids make chronic pain worse. Now, if you have intermittent pain or you have cancer pain, you should receive opiates. And if you do not, find a doctor who will prescribe it. Most states have exemptions where you can do it. It's just a lot of work for the doctors, and doctors are scared now. And to your point, Claudia, the way we got into this mess was they put doctors in jail for not treating pain aggressively enough. That was in the 90s. There was a lot of that, and fine doctors, and oh my God, the stuff we had to go through if we didn't prescribe pain medication, even people in withdrawal. It was the craziest thing you've ever imagined.
What is cancer pain?
Pain from cancer.
But I'm sorry to be so naive about this, but what can you describe it? Is it a?
It's horrible.
Is it a?
It's horrible. Your
entire body pain?
Well, it depends where the cancer is.
Is it a sharp pain?
Cancer's eating your body, right? And it's like, from the inside.
Because I just learned that pain was associated with cancer. I didn't realize that. I thought
it depends
it was
on the cancer, but most, like a lot of them have bad.
And opioids were developed.
The sort of the heavy opioids, fentanyl was developed for that. Yeah,
and then we just abused it because we realized it's fun.
No, then a group of doctors came out and decided that pain should never exist.
Okay.
And then the Veterans Administration, the Joint Commission on Hospital Accreditation, and the various state medical societies adopted that philosophy that became a theology. And pain became the fifth vital sign, as important as your pulse. And if we didn't treat it, we were fined or sent to jail. And then the drug companies, of course, loved this and pushed it further.
When you say opioids make pain worse.
Opioids make chronic pain worse.
Do you mean the pain receptors won't?
Causes hyperalgesia, so the part of the brain called the insular cortex starts perceiving the pain as much more intense. So so the misery of pain goes through the roof.
So you need more drugs.
So you need more, which only makes it worse. It causes back pain and headache from chronic withdrawal. So everybody on opiates has back pain. And then you just escalate this process.
Is that a real pain or is that psychosomatic?
It's all real. All pain is real.
But the back pain and the headache I'm talking about.
It's withdrawal pain.
Okay.
It's all real. But opioids clearly are not the treatment for chronic pain. Every scientific study done has shown that clearly. If you have cancer pain, if you have intermittent pain, and you're not getting opiates, that's just cruel. That's cruel. And the fact that state medical societies or states are getting in the way of that is just anathema.
Can marijuana alleviate cancer pain?
Yeah, it can help it. Yeah,
just help. It can't make it go away.
Maybe for some people, it's not something we think of as good. Cancer pain is really rough. It's very difficult to treat, and it never really goes away. Oh, this is interesting. Alex is a medical student. Alex, you're a medical student?
Yes, I am. I just started at University of South Florida.
Congratulations. You're a first year?
Yeah, that's right.
And you wanted to ask about this reality show I was working on?
Yeah, so you mentioned it before, and I haven't heard you talk about it in a long time, so I was wondering if that's actually in the works. I'd love to see that kind of show.
Yeah, it's funny. It was Fox was interested in it and then dropped it, and then it sort of went nowhere. Somebody called me yesterday to sort of resurrect it, strangely enough. And it's sort of a reality version of House. And one of the things I'd complained about is that I don't think students are, I don't think they're beat up enough. I think medical students, you have to be beat up a lot to make
so
the patient.
That's a change from when you went to medical school? Because from what I hear from you, it was 24/7.
Yeah. And now they have set hours.
Well, obviously he's watching TV.
What do you mean? Because he's here. He's a first-year student. First year, second year is a whole different story. And that's actually a lot of fun, Alex. Enjoy it while you still can. But
I'm trying to.
Yeah, when you hit the wards, that's it. Your life is not your own anymore, and it stays that way for many years. And I just don't think I just think that it's a little too civil. And I got beat up. I beat other people up, and it was the way we got people to. Really, you don't. There's no room for any sort of
contemplation.
Well, I want to say a word like error. It's like we're going to hand these young people prescriptions, pads, and scalpels at the end of the training, and there can be no possibility of somebody not measuring up. I mean, everybody has to.
Do you mean under
up.
pressure, or do you mean just
under pressure in terms of prioritizing the patient, in terms of
how does that rigorous schedule
training their mind to think these things through
how does that being overwhelmed through medical school translate into goodness when you get into a private practice?
You can always prioritize the patient over everything else in your life.
Okay.
And that piece particularly seems to be missed right now.
Okay.
And you can think through in a disciplined way, no matter how tired you are, no matter how angry you are, no matter what the staff is telling you or doing to you.
And that is something you can learn. You can train your brain to have that sort of
You can train it.
Path.
You can train. I was not that way at first. I was trained into it. And so I know.
It seems unnatural.
It's unnatural. So, Alex, that was my little philosophy on it. But you get in there in third year, you call back and tell me how it's going. Okay?
Yeah, will do. Yeah.
All right, man. Thanks for the call.
You're not going to throw him the. You're not going to make any money unless you go into plastic surgery line.
No. I want the young physicians to be in medicine for medicine. This is also a really interesting call here. Okay, here we go. Mike, you can help with this. Paul, you there?
I'm here.
Hi, Paul. What's going on?
Well, I really need some advice. My wife has a drinking problem. I'm sorry?
Yep, I'm here. That was the dog.
Yeah.
He wants in.
Okay. My wife has a drinking problem. She refuses to do anything about it. I feel like I'm ready to end this relationship, but we have a 6-year-old daughter, so I'm not sure what the best course of action is.
Yeah, it's very, very challenging. Mike, you want to?
I got to say, I've seen this many times with friends, and there is no way to deal with it except for ending the relationship as far as I've seen, because for her to quit drinking, she's got to want to quit drinking.
Right.
If she doesn't want to quit drinking, there's nothing you can really do about it.
Right, and cumulative loss is typically what gets people to change.
Yeah,
now,
but I also think it's really important that you maintain the relationship with her since you have the tie and the daughter, because eventually she might, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, and you don't want to disrupt the kid with your just cutting them out of your life.
You might want to be married in sort of name only and just be there for the child. That's a possibility. But here's something you have to do. If
you're
going to
maintain Uber account.
No, yeah, for her. But if you're going to maintain this relationship, you've got to go to a program called Al-Anon. You have to go. You have to get a sponsor. Okay. You have to do it. And you're there. Being there might motivate her to get sober. It might. Sometimes it does. But it will change how you dance with her condition. You get it?
Okay. Yeah, I've already. Yeah, I've tried to take a step back. I was still picking up alcohol for her at the store. I don't do that anymore.
No. But you need to go to Al-Anon to have some support. Like, you ever seen the Little Shop of Horrors? You ever seen? Yeah. So the plant, the Audrey 2, that's a perfect model for alcoholism and addiction. If you go near the plant, you're in the plant, right? That's exactly right. It's an interpersonal disease. It plays on everything. It plays on all the strengths of the individual that has it. It plays on the relationship that are around it. And so you go in the plant unless you have somebody pulling you out, and that's what Al-Anon is. So you have to have that if you're going to be around. If you're going to be around her, or you can just leave. I mean, you can just do that. But it seems sad. I hate to think for your daughter.
It's terribly sad, and there's nothing.
That's my biggest concern is my daughter's stability.
Sure, and her and your wife, she might get sober one day too. And so it's really how are you going to manage this? And you can also get a therapist that could be helpful too. It's about taking care of yourself at this point, not focusing on her because she's going to do what she does. Is that about right?
Absolutely. I'm sorry to say it like that, but you can't, especially if he starts to build resentment and starts to be mean to her because she's drinking. That's just going to make it worse.
Oh, my goodness. We have so many great questions here. I'm sorry. Okay.
How many lines do you guys have? Holy moly.
I know. It's really extraordinary. And by the way, we appreciate you guys calling in. It's just really overwhelming. And, okay. Hold on a second. This is... Okay, Tamara, I'm not going to take your call because I don't want to get into big arguments again, but I will say, she says that opioid-induced hyperalgesia is very limited, addiction rates are low. That is false. It is clearly the case. Clearly the case. In fact, in pain medicine, they still won't even call addiction. They will say, well, 30% of our patients have difficulty managing their opiates, but they're not drug addicts. It's like, listen, the research out there is exquisitely clear. What there is, though, there's a group that gets dependency to opiates without being a drug addict. Can you imagine this? Where we've been overusing opiates so much that we make people look like drug addicts when we take them off the opiates.
I don't understand that at all.
When they come off the opiates, they're not interested in them anymore. Well, a drug addict can't stop. Keeps going back. For whatever reason, keeps going back. While a non-addict...
I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
What?
That's just funny.
That they have to keep going back?
Well, you know all these people that are addicts and how difficult it is, and then you think there's another group of people that are doing it, and then they just stop, and that's the end of it. And you're like, what the hell is that?
We didn't used to see that ever.
That's unbelievable.
But since the opioid crisis, now we see that. Isn't that something? Yeah. So people have to be given a chance to get off the drugs before they need full treatment. Even.
Yeah.
We don't even know
see if they fall into that category.
Yeah. Well, I think it's pretty easy. You have a family history of alcoholism. Have you ever been addicted to anything? Which, by the way, 2 questions that pain management never ask their patients. Ever. Drives me out of my mind. So, no, whatever new study you've seen.
I know you've talked about this ad nauseum, but family history will say a lot. I just want to confirm
a ton. I've never.
So you think it's biological in
genetic.
part?
It's 60%. 60% of addiction is accounted for on the basis of genetics alone. That's how we say it. Like everything in human behavior, it's genes and environment.
How do you think that played out 1,000 years ago?
What do you mean?
In that lineage, like
where did it come from?
When they didn't have opiates and when they didn't have.
Where'd the genes come from?
No, but was it just alcohol?
No. How about before alcohol?
Yeah. So what did it? Just violence?
Yes.
Anger?
Violence. So do you know what what the genes for alcoholism is?
No.
It's a survivor gene in extreme adversity. So think about alcoholics and addicts. I used to do this.
Wait, I've never heard that.
Well,
That's
let me
incredible.
explain this to you. So
a survivor gene in
extreme
adversity.
Okay, so here's the deal. So I used to do this experiment every week with my group of alcoholic addicts, and it never failed. So
why'd you keep doing it then?
To point it out to them.
Oh. What kind of doctor are you?
So
what are we doing again?
So you have this gene that's so destructive when people are exposed to these chemicals. Why has it stayed in the genome? Right? Why is it stuck around?
Okay.
Why didn't it get washed out? Well, first of all, let's look where in the globe it exists. To look at what is going on genetically, you want to look at isolated populations and see where you see the gene. Well, you see it in Scotland, North American Indians, certain part of Eastern Europe. These concentrated populations, what did they all have in common?
Well, what we know from, stereotypically.
What they all had in common was multiple generations of military assaults, genocidal military assaults. Scotland being the best example.
Holy moly.
And so if you look at people with this gene now, they make great fighter pilots, great shortstops, great extreme athletes. Think about you.
Which is why so many people in Alcoholics Anonymous have violent upbringings. And
that part I'm not ready to say yet, except to say that you'll find them doing extreme things even still in their sobriety.
Yeah.
They'll like rock climbing and they're like hang gliding and all this stuff. They're at their best in extreme situations, such as if a bunch of Huns ran over the hill here. Well, I, the codependent, would run the other way, and evidently that would mean a spear in the back, while you guys with the gene would have your wits about you and be able to fight and be a little more likely to survive. And you know where that was portrayed accurately? Was in Braveheart. Absolutely accurately. 10,000 people go into battle, only the alcoholics survive. Isn't that interesting? And I'm not saying using alcohol.
That's funny you would say that, because that's been portrayed in so many films. There's the vicious guy that TCB Lightning, that, takes care of business.
Yeah.
And he's always the guy chugging the grog at the end of the night. And he's always drunk.
Yeah, later. When not during the whole thing, but later you see him start to relate to the alcohol. Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And so if you
how come you said Scotland, not Ireland?
Oh, you could do Ireland too.
Okay.
Because Scotland is really, that's sort of the same stuff. But you think of your peers. They're all bright. They're all smart. They're interesting people. They're extreme.
Yeah, by and large,
it's a rich genetic population, which is why I started thinking about it back when they first started looking at some of the genes. Some of my peers started going, well, people are advocating maybe doing abortions on babies that have this gene. I thought, whoa, that's genetic engineering. And
trying to bring the music business to a halt, buddy.
And you're taking my patients away from the human genome. That's a major loss. So anyway, there we go. That's my little story about that.
I have never heard that. That was
I can't believe we've been friends
interesting.
all this time, and I've never told you my little theory about that. This is Drew in Texas. Drew, what's going on?
Hey, Dr. Drew.
Hey, man,
how's your day going?
It's going pretty good. We're just doing this
good. Hey.
live show. Hey.
I had a question for you all. I heard you mention this on Dr. Drew After Dark last week. So I'm 32 years old, and I was recently treated for genital warts. And I was wondering if somebody like me would benefit from the HPV vaccine.
Are you single?
I'm sorry?
Are you single?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would do it, dude.
Yes.
They've extended it all the way into the 40s now, I think like 46. And Yeah, I mean, just because you have one strain of the virus doesn't mean you couldn't get exposed to some of the other ones that could be associated with the cancers. And as you know, head and neck cancer is on the rise, anal cancer is on the rise, penile cancer is on the rise, and it's all HPV related. All head and neck stuff, bad.
Correct.
Should I get that shot?
I would. You're maybe a little, how old are you? Okay, don't tell me.
32.
Yeah.
53.
Yeah, get it, Drew. No, for sure. You might find doctors that would give it to you outside of that 46 window, 46-year-old window.
But how would I benefit from that?
You won't get HPV. I'm looking at some producer Susan. I've got a bunch of calls in queue. Are those calls I can go to? Why are they in a separate? Oh, well, they have a.
Drop the ones that you've already talked to.
Okay.
So that you can have more room.
Okay.
I'm not at the base.
Okay. I'm doing it. Hold on. My goodness, we have such intense. Okay, this one is. All right, Mike, I want you to help me with this. Michelle, what's up?
Hi, Dr. Drew.
Hi, Michelle.
Okay, I'm going to try not to cry.
Okay.
I was in therapy with my 16-year-old daughter yesterday. We had been in therapy for a while. She's been suffering from anxiety, depression. We just had her recently tested. She was tested highly gifted, ADD, anxiety, depression. Yesterday, she picked National Coming Out Day, I guess, to tell us that she is trans. She's 16. Her regular therapist immediately gave us a list of other therapists that we could reach out to for transition therapy. This is all brand new to me. I don't even know if I'm using the right language. So it just seems, I talked to a girlfriend who's a pediatrician, and she said that she didn't feel like there was any reason to go to a transition therapist this soon because my daughter's already developed. They wouldn't be like stopping her breast from growing or anything like that.
That's kind of what I was just thinking. I was like, what's wrong with the therapist she's seeing? I think the therapist did that just to be complete and to offer your daughter that kind of opportunity if that's what she wanted to do. But I think it's better if she stays with a therapist she's connected to for a while and then see what they want to do. This whole issue of pre-pubertal treatment of transition, non-binary kids, trans kids, it's extremely controversial. Well,
and my first thought, and I'm not a parent, is that I made some bad decisions when I was 16, and I think the longer you can wait and the more time you give it, you might change your mind, or you might know for sure.
Right. You need to give her a chance to work with the therapist.
Like, you don't go get a big chest tattoo when you're 15, because when you're 25, you might be like, it wasn't.
Or you might then go, finally, I'm going to get that chest tattoo when you're 25.
Yeah.
And that's all good. That's neither way. We're not saying either way is the way she should go. We're saying that there's no hurry at this point. There is hurry when they're younger, because the kids are a lot better if they're treated pre-puberty.
When you know for sure.
When you know for sure.
Okay,
but that's really, really hard and really, really controversial. I've known some male to female trans children, or adult now, who really benefited from
I wonder,
I just don't know how do you select those kids.
Is there an advantage to this, where you live as a boy or a girl for 14, 15 years, and then you transition? Do you get to see both sides? Do you have more of an open mind? Do you have more experience?
Well, we're going to keep taking phone calls after we wrap this live, and let us know if you're a trans individual. It's a really interesting question. But and Michelle, you should have some place you can go to, because parents get very stressed out about this stuff. They don't want to do they want to do what's right for their child, and this is sort of new territory for, frankly, everybody, and especially you.
Yeah, well, it's new for me too, because my friend. You met her at the party. Mm-hmm. You met her before.
I did.
And that was a tough one. It was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You going to do what?
Yeah, and she seemed great.
And then she did it. Yeah. I can't speak for them, for other people's.
Right. But if you're a parent, you want children to make optimal choices.
Yeah.
And you want to
but you as a doctor can legitimize that this is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know how old-timey, rednecky people are kind of like this.
Well, it's clearly something. It's always been something. It's clearly something that is manifesting more commonly now. The question is, and this is kind of a weird philosophical question. We only have I'm not going to drop this question at the end, except to say that it's hard to know who we should select for what kinds of treatment. That's the bottom line. We don't really know enough, I don't think.
I think people will take issue with the "we select" comment because it seems...
We as clinicians. Do
you approve?
No. How do we select a person for a surgery? How do we select a person for pubertal treatment? How do we select a person for trans therapy, like Michelle's daughter? How do we select a person for just individual psychotherapy, like her daughter? It's an evolving clinical science still, and it is something new, and it is something that clearly is an improvement. In terms of allowing people to be who they really want to be. And
imagine the kind of turmoil you would be in if you were 60 and you felt like you were the wrong gender.
Right. So, Michelle, thank you for calling. I hope that helps a little bit. Does it?
Thank you. I think, I'm just going to help her walk the walk right now, but we're not going to.
But stay with that therapist. Stay with that therapist for a little time. Just to give it time with somebody she's connected with, and really have her sorted out with that individual that knows her before you go for any kind of specialized care. Again, no hurry. I agree with your pediatrician.
But what's going on in her head? How is she dealing with this? Because that's traumatic to have that laid on you in a therapy session.
I know, and I just said she needs to have her own therapist. Yeah. Too, but we got to wrap this thing up. We are going to continue with calls, but this wraps up this live, Mike. Thank you for joining us.
It was fun. Thank you for having me.
It was really good.
I hope I contributed somehow. But
you did. You really did, actually. We are announcing the new show coming in the winter, Ask Dr. Drew, and we'll make it easy to find. Just go to AskDrDrew.com or drdrew.tv, right? What are you showing me there? What's that? Oh, we're going to be a little preview right now. Let's go.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. Psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous.
I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that?
I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people.
I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals.
Let's just deal with what's real.
We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time.
Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help.
I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
And I'll be saying more right now on Ask Dr. Drew. We're going right into this program. Is that correct? Okay. So, Mike, we don't even get to take a breath, drink a little drink of water. We are continuing. They're slave drivers here, I tell you.
Who needs air and water?
I know, exactly.
When we have our vapes.
Okay. Okay, we are taking no more chronic pain questions. So we're going into more to lower Loveline S type question. Oh, this is interesting. Matt, go ahead.
Hey, Dr. Drew. Good to talk to you. I have been a long-time listener. I first met you at Drake University at my junior year in 96 or 97. I can't remember exactly the year, but I've been listening to you and just love you and what you do. So thank you. Over the 10 years that I've been having this problem, I've tried to desperately get in touch with you, and you're so in demand that I just haven't been able to get this problem solved. So when I was back getting my master's degree, I've for sure have had an inability to focus. And my family doctor put me on Adderall. We'd put it on there, and it seemed like it helped for a short period of time, and then it would stop working.
Yeah.
And so she kept cranking the dose, and I was just like, at the end we just keep cranking the dose, and then 2 weeks later it's as though I'm not getting any benefit, and I'm probably getting the side effects. And the problem that I've been plagued with for 10 years since I started with that was I could no longer really get an erection like I used to.
Wow.
It was just like the switch got turned off.
Mm-hmm.
And one time I was going back to the farm, listening to Loveline one late night, and you were talking with somebody that I swear that was having a similar problem, and you had made mention that maybe there was something that someone that was studied like you are that could help address the root issue, because I've gone to all kinds of different doctors, and all they want to do is give me, Viagra or Cialis.
Right.
And they won't ever listen to the root issue and try to help me. I've tried to find an addiction medicine specialist that's closer to me, and there's like nobody around. And so today I got an email that says, "Hey, you're accepting calls." I called in, and I cannot believe that I'm talking to you. This is like a dream come true.
Let's see if I can help. Are you taking any medications presently?
No, I mean that's really the only medication I've ever really taken.
And do you
I don't drink, I don't smoke.
Okay. And do you have normal sexual arousal and libido, or is that gone too?
Yeah,
that's
absolutely
that's normal.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm certainly not the expert here, but it sounds like even though you don't drink and you don't smoke, that you've got what a lot of alcoholics have, which is just chaos in your brain. And I think that could be part of why you can't focus. And also, you will inevitably psych yourself out so much that you can't.
So you're bringing up other things that I want to get into yet. But ADHD is common in alcoholism and addiction, and that's some of the brain chaos you're hearing with him. He legitimately has ADHD, right? Or ADD.
But I think that can also lead to the erectile problem because a lot of it's in your head. And
it can, but this really sounds biological.
Okay.
I mean, it sounds like something happened, and we know these stimulants can do strange things. It's the name for the drug is dextroamphetamine.
Okay.
That's what Adderall's generic name is. It's an amphetamine. Don't make any mistake about it. And as such, how is your memory? Your memory okay?
You know, I have memory issues. I have like foggy mind I should remember things.
Is that the ADD or is that really memory? Can you tell?
You know, I think I think I have pretty good memory longer term, but you know, I can forget people's names that I've worked with.
Okay, and then and you're 45. How old are you now?
I'm 44.
44, and your mood's okay?
Yeah, I get a little bit, you know, depressed, and this is a major source of that.
I get it.
You know, depression, but for sure, I get frustrated with my inability to think properly and have a clear mind.
Okay. And at what stage in sort of sexual activity do you lose erection? Do you never get an erection? Do you lose it during penetration? Do you lose it after a little while? When do you lose it?
Yeah, I mean, just even getting it is the problem. And if I take, you know, pills, you know, it's easy for me to lose it.
And what pills have you taken?
Either Cialis or Viagra.
Have you taken up to 100 milligrams on the Viagra?
Yeah.
And you still lose it. And do you get anxiety or panic that you're going to lose it? This is the part Mike's talking about. Do you anticipate losing it and that freaks you out? Yeah. Okay. So Matt, here's the thing. I'm trying to do a quick assessment, and it's very limited. It's possible.
Sure.
It's possible that something happened neurologically. It's possible. But what I'm hearing is a lot of OCD, right? You have obsessive compulsive disorder, right? You do a lot of that kind of stuff.
Well, I don't know exactly what that would mean, so I have a hard time answering that question.
Do you have a lot of thinking that you can't get your brain to stop doing? Do you do rituals? Yeah. And people that get OCD get a lot of this is going to sound weird, but I've seen a lot of it. They get a lot of preoccupations with their genitalia. They'll either say there's an irritation or they have trouble with erection. And often, and I hate to be using more pharmacology on you, but often if you see a psychiatrist and get real OCD treatment, like true treatment, this can get better. You're probably also going to need some of these what are called PDE5 inhibitors like Viagra in addition. I'm sorry that we're sort of having to rely on pharmacology. I know you're upset because pharmacology may be what caused this problem, but I think you were misdiagnosed, mistreated, and you really need to see a psychiatrist who has some experience treating obsessive compulsive disorder. There is an entire website, the OCDF.org. I need Susan, look this up for me, please. The Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, I think, Foundation. There's a whole world there because it's such a common condition, OCD, that they have their own support networks and doctor referral system. I'm going to need you to tell me if I'm going to have to stop the show and look it up.
I'm going to tell you from experience that a lot of this OCD stuff, I can quell it with trying to meditate. A lot of it.
That is more,
and I see my focus go, up a lot. And
I think that's more ADD stuff.
But maybe. Yeah, but I also know that, like...
Okay, it's the International OCD Foundation. IOCDF.org, IOCDF.org. And there'll be doctor referrals there and all kinds of things. So
well, I know when I don't meditate in the morning, my brain goes to all these bad places, and it gets manic, and it gets frantic. And I didn't meditate a couple of days ago, and I ended up untangling all the cords from all my chargers for 15 or 20 minutes for no apparent reason. I was just like, this has to happen now. And I went in and I ironed 2 shirts, and I came back, and I found myself just walking from room to room, frantically doing things, and I was like, oh, it's the old me, how I always was. But if I get up and just sit still for a few minutes, just still.
Have you seen Ryan Holiday's new book?
I listened to it.
Stillness is the key, is it?
Yeah, stillness is the way.
Stillness is the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of quotes. I learned a lot about Marcus Aurelius.
Well, that's Ryan's favorite.
Yeah.
Oh, I should bring Ryan into this show. We'll bring him in one of these days. Did you take away specific stuff?
I took away a lot. I took away a tremendous amount. I took away how important it is for me just to stop and breathe and calm down and just be in the moment. And I think being in the moment has been the key for me, all right, at this portion of my life, because I realize how much I'm out of the moment, how all of my actions have been to get out of the moment. My compulsive buying, just have to drink every single day and every single night. Everything is to take me away from being right here. Yeah. And the bottom line is, especially with the movie project, I'm realizing this is all a big joke. It doesn't fucking... No, I'm being serious. This is all a joke.
What do they call it? It's the...
All of my stress doesn't matter. I'm stressed out about this photography job. I'm stressed out about this. It doesn't matter. It's not important because we're all going to end up dead, and we're going to look back, or, dying, and we're going to look back and think about what was important, and the stuff that's important is being here now. It really is.
Be here now is a really good aphorism.
It's all there is.
Is that in his book? Is Be Here Now in his book? I've heard that sort of as an aphorism.
I don't know.
Well, Be Here Now is a good one. And you got to read The Ego is the Enemy also.
I know.
You like that
I'm
one.
thinking about that one next. That one's a little too honest for me.
A little too close. Okay.
I just like the Marcus Aurelius stuff, realizing that a person long time ago had the same issues. Didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. Didn't feel like going to work.
And he was the emperor.
Yeah.
He was the emperor of Rome.
Yeah.
We have on the line now Rachel. Rachel, what's going on?
Hey, Dr. Drew. I was wondering if you could talk a bit about Mirena crash. I recently, over the summer, got my Mirena out, thinking it would help with certain symptoms, and it's just made everything so much worse.
Yeah, I am not a fan of progesterone in some women. So Mirena is a progesterone impregnated IUD.
Okay.
And people get these IUDs in, and they get headaches, and they get low libido, and they get vaginal dryness, and they think they're allergic to their boyfriend's semen, and they have all these kinds of crazy symptoms. And it's all the progesterone locally being excessively powerful and sort of counteracting all those good effects of estrogen. And then when you take it out, for some women, it gets worse. And there's a guy named Andrew Goldstein, Rachel. He's in Washington, D.C. He has a whole... I'm sure he's got a website out there. Susan, maybe you can help me know what the website is. Andrew Goldstein, gynecologist. He's an expert in the effect of these progesterones. And he says some women, once they get some of these side effects, it can go on for a long time, and you have to do specific things to correct it. And you may be one of these people.
Even after you have it removed?
Yes.
Now,
let's say you're getting it from an oral contraceptive pill, and you stop the pill. Some women, the symptoms persist.
Does it matter how you're getting it? If you're getting it from an IUD that's inside of you,
it's less potent. That's less potent. That's less potent. But I hope you haven't gone on a progesterone dominant birth control pill, have you, Rachel?
Sorry, I couldn't hear.
Have you gone on a progesterone?
Someone else was talking.
What are you on?
Oh no, I'm on nothing now. I have nothing now.
Okay, that's good. Because sometimes women go off the Mirena and go on a birth control pill, and that's high-dose progesterone, too. So, Andrew Goldstein, do we have a website for him? He's in D.C., yeah.
Am I on? Oh, yes. There we go. He's in Washington, D.C.
Yes.
He's at, let's see.
If you go to, I did a couple of podcasts with him at the Dr. Drew podcast. Very, very good guy, very smart guy, and he's doing a lot of research on this exact problem, Rachel. So let's see if we can
look up Andrew Goldstein in Washington, D.C.
And he comes right up?
He's a gynecologist, yeah.
Okay, so just look up Andrew Goldstein in Washington, D.C. and go to his website and see if you can get anything there. Or if you're in Portland, so it'll be impossible to see him. But I bet you he has resources or people in your area that he could refer you to, okay?
Perfect. Last thing, could you yell at my boyfriend for not turning left on a red arrow?
You're a pussy. You got to be like, that's what Adam would say. Now, listen,
left is highly illegal. Right is fine.
Well, in certain states. But Adam insists that everybody turn left on red arrows.
Yeah, well,
if there's
thanks
no
to
oncoming
Adam,
traffic.
I also started running red lights.
Oh, God. But go ahead, Rachel. What?
Thank you.
right.
Just saying pussy, it really helps.
I mean it with peace and love. Peace and love, peace and love. Oh, my God. Okay. Oh, my gosh. All right. This is going to be an interesting call. Let's see if we can try this. This is Sarah. Sarah, go ahead there.
Yes.
Hey.
Hi. My brother was just recently arrested on domestic violence, and he's had issues of this in the past. And I was wondering, is there a way that I can help him? Because I know, like, I've seen his good side to him.
Right.
And
Well,
it's kind of devastating.
Yeah, but you can't, even though somebody is a good person in your mind and has always been a nice guy, he is not a good person if he's going to engage in these behaviors. He is not, right? And you have sort of two options. Let the legal system play out, or he changes directions and allows you to help him. Really dealing with domestic violence on the perpetrator side takes a long time. I remember I was working with a guy on HLM who was now helping other men with domestic violence issues, and he said he talked about how he was in graduate school or something, and he threw a woman through a door. And he'd not done anything before that, but when it got to that point, he said, "Oh my God, something's wrong with me. I need to go get help." And I said, "How long did you have to work on this to really get this under control?" He said, 10 years. And I was like, "Oh my God, there isn't that kind of time for people that are really engaged in these kinds of behaviors." So much like with drug addiction, let's see, what's our caller's name? Sarah. Much like with drug addiction, Mike, they want you to face the camera.
No, I'm sorry. This is intense. I mean, this is a heavy topic. Like, how do you betray your family member because they did something, but then again, it's so abhorrent?
You have to let the legal system, you have to let the axe fall. Much like with drug addiction, you have to let the axe fall. They have to hit a bottom with this stuff too. And you could argue that it needs to be brought in even sooner because somebody else is being hurt, not just the individual. Right?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
It's just so heavy, and I mean, it's just devastating. I don't know. It's like pedophilia.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's not quite that bad, but
I know it's not. I know it's not, but it's one of these things where you just go,
Yeah.
I can't relate to this so much so that I have to cut you out. But then part of you is like, it's my family member, and I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know how.
It's like addiction. You deal with it the same way, Sarah, which is go to him, say, let's get you some help. This can't go on. And what he's going to say is, oh, it won't happen again. I learned my lesson. No, you have to talk to somebody, find somebody who has expertise with this. And as Mike is saying, you have to be contemplating not being in a relationship with him if he continues to behave like this, and let him know that you have an obligation to keep everyone safe. If he behaves like that, something will happen. Right?
I'm just filled with gratitude that I don't have to deal with this.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, it'd be terrible, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that. I wish that they would just offer him counseling or something in jail, but I feel like they throw money at it and then it'll go away.
Is he in jail now?
Yes, he just recently got in.
Yeah, so you're right. The jail, all jail does is tell him maybe he's doing something wrong. But of course, if you're a psychologist in a certain way, you feel like, oh, you're justified. You're just being taken advantage of. It's the system's out to get you. People think. But I would try to find him some help if he possibly can. How about your sister-in-law? Is she seeing somebody?
Yeah, she's doing good. She's upset, obviously, too. She doesn't see a counselor or anything, she's working through it.
This will not stop if they're not both in some sort of treatment. She also has to get treatment. There's a reason, I'm not saying this from the sense of blaming the victim. I'm saying reality, psychologically, that people get themselves into situations for various historical reasons, and if they've done it once, they will do it again, and they will keep going back unless they get treatment. That's the way it goes. That's why when everyone's looking at the Matt Lauer thing, like, why would she have stayed with him? Well, people do this stuff. They do it. They stick around. And particularly when things are traumatized, they have sort of a traumatic bonding.
I absolutely get the why do people stay with other people thing, but I also don't understand how the treatment works for the victim. Like, is it a self-esteem thing? Is it how do you come to a point where you realize I need to get out of this situation?
As
somebody who's being abused, it doesn't matter. A work situation, anything.
Well,
how do you?
Here's the problem.
Where is that?
You actually let's just look at a romantic situation because that's where it's more intense. Is you actually develop traumatic bonding. You actually get sort of drawn into this situation, and people will then think, "Oh my God, it's because he loves me so much. It's because he cares so much that he gets so upset." And then when he pulls out of it, he goes, "It's because I love you so much, and it will never happen again."
And people that do that are good manipulators too. So
they just follow a classic pattern, and they usually have certain constructs, personality-wise and and psychologically, and they believe it. They believe it will never happen again. They believe that they do love that person so much. That's why, one of the reasons we say things like, don't look for intensity in relationships. Intensity goes to bad places. Look for butterflies.
I haven't heard
that. People get, you like intense relationships?
Well, I think they're appealing.
Right. They are appealing because they're dramatic and there's all kinds of, but they're not healthy.
Yeah.
So think butterflies, not lightning bolts, we always say.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
So I'll try to meet a girl with a butterfly tattooed on her face.
Oh my gosh.
My soulmate.
Okay. Where are we here? Okay, so Hilda's been waiting for quite some time. Let's get Hilda in here. Hi, Hilda.
Hi, Dr. Drew.
What's going on? What's up? What's going on?
First off, I'm just excited I finally get to talk to you. I've wanted to talk to you for a really long time because I think you're a very knowledgeable person. And, I just wanted to say I'm excited to finally get to talk to you. But I was just recently diagnosed in June with borderline personality disorder and bipolar high functioning. And I also have a daughter with severe autism as well.
Oh,
and ever since I've been diagnosed, it has been a whirlwind and an eye-opening experience for myself. More or less that I finally I'm learning my behaviors and what my behaviors mean, but I am struggling because I'm considered high functioning.
Let's talk about borderline first. Let's talk about that so other people understand what we're talking about. What have you learned about your condition?
I have learned with my borderline that I have developed a very severe codependency issue. And
what do you mean when you say borderline? What do you mean when you say borderline disorder? What are you talking about?
Well, what I mean by borderline, there's several different issues. I've suffered from issues from my past. I have a lot of
trauma,
unhealthy past relationships between my parents, between past relationships.
Okay.
I'm very black and white. Either very in love with somebody or completely hate them.
Right. And sometimes the same person. Sometimes
exactly.
5 minutes later.
Almost every time it's the same person.
Right. So good. So you do it. So you're insightful of what's going on. So borderline is unregulated hostility.
Okay.
Unstable.
Now, why is it borderline?
It's just a name that got left from his psychiatric history.
Because I thought there might be a more extreme version.
Well, originally the original meaning was borderline psychotic.
Okay.
And the reality is
they just threw borderline in to kind of ease the pain.
No, the reality is they're not psychotic at all. Although when they get very upset, they lose track of a lot of things.
Can I say something about what she mentioned, that she's become aware of it and her actions, which has been a huge thing for me in therapy, is to become aware of why I'm doing things. It doesn't stop it all the time, but it's made it so much more tolerable when I realize my F you attitude towards people is coming from this and coming from that, and I realize, like, being present, but being aware of why I'm acting how I'm acting has made it much less
right
common.
And
that's your what?
I'm sorry, and that's my problem.
But that's a good thing that you're aware of it.
I'm aware of my behaviors, but my thing is I have trouble still controlling my emotions. The whole emotional regulation type things. Right now I am doing psychotherapy, and they suggested to do DBT therapy, but
Okay, so
that's been a whole other.
You're way ahead of the game. So Hilda. So what psychotherapy is to help her regulate her emotions and sort of gain some insight into what's going on. DBT, it's called dialectical behavioral therapy, essentially helps her keep track of herself and the other person as emotions come up, if that makes sense. Because borderlines fear abandonment, so so if they get upset and the other person starts to pull away, they fly into a panic on top of that, and then that person goes from somebody they love to somebody they hate, and so relationships are very unstable, identity becomes unstable in certain situations, and these are really hard things to deal with. But with DBT, you learn to sort of techniques for going, oh, Mike's upset right now. That's why his mind still has contents, and he's upset. And what am I experiencing? We're different.
Yeah.
And it's just a way of it's like a.
I wonder if having the responsibility of the autistic child is grounding to her.
No.
Well, because sometimes you can override this with "I have a responsibility."
Well, and borderlines can be very, very, very responsible. But what do you say to that, Hilda?
I agree, and that's what my therapist tells me as well. She feels that I concentrate so much on being a good parent and trying to be a parent for my child that I function so well in that portion of my life that it's more my interpersonal relationships between family and friends that are what's really affecting me.
Okay, so I'm sure what she told you was hold off on new relationships, try to keep a lid on things, and let's get some DBT going, right?
Correct.
That's what you should do. You're really, I must tell you, you're in good shape, because back in the day, borderlines did not have a lot of options, and now there's a lot of really good treatment for it. So, and by the way, a therapist who's willing to stay with you, because I'm sure you have a lot of the fluctuating feelings towards your therapist too, and they can be hard for the therapist. The fact that you've got somebody hanging, because the therapist, they love and hate also. And, no, and it happens. It happens in a session. It happens all the time, and and then if the person's not there because they fear the abandonment, they're the most worst person ever, and I'm never going to see you again. I thought you were the best doctor, but now you're the worst doctor. And as long as you're aware of all that stuff, you're ahead of the game, my dear. So stay with it. It's treatable. You'll always have some of this stuff, but that'll make you the charming person you are. Okay.
And thank you, Dr. Drew. And I just wanted to, I don't know if if you know of anything in California, but that's where I'm struggling, is finding the DBT therapy that isn't costing an arm and a leg. I mean, I'm a mother. That's where I'm struggling.
I see you're in San Diego. There are usually, you can find group DBTs out there in teaching centers. So check with the universities, check with any schools of psychology. Get in there. They're well supervised. They're usually well run, and that's good.
Is there any tie-in? I've always found it surprising, and I've been in this situation, not married, but where this is the person I love. I love this woman. I love her. And then after the breakup, I hate her guts. Yeah. And I wonder, I see that in marriages where they have an ugly, ugly divorce, and they're doing everything to just demolish the person's life, and you're like, that's the person you vowed your love to.
It's weird. Humans do that. It's weird.
But is that part of this, or is that just something else?
That can be part of this, but it's also something else.
Okay.
One part of it is that's how we deal with distancing ourselves from a love object. By demeaning it and destroying it. Like when people would leave treatment and addiction treatment, we always knew they were getting ready for treatment because they would start treating us like crap and tell us the treatment was terrible and how awful, because they were getting ready to leave. And kids do that when they're leaving to go to college. They hate their parents. I try to get away from you. It's kind of a normal human phenomenon.
We are a mess as a species.
We are a mess as a species, for sure. But when it's the end of a marriage that's so laden with all kinds of values and fantasies that are all crushed by that other person, allegedly. Yeah. So that's where it gets rough.
But wouldn't you assume it's going to play out like, I love you, we got married, it's not working out, let's get divorced, but I still love you.
People do these conscious uncouplings now. They do it. Yeah. Susan, would you text Paulina, please? Tell her I'm busy here, and I'll call her in half an hour. But this does remind me to say that this is hard to do. We get commercial breaks on the radio. This is hard to do in one sitting. We have to learn to take breaks. I'm sorry to tell you guys. At least to get up and go to the bathroom or something. Okay, we have lots of great calls still coming. David, go ahead, David.
Hey, Dr. Drew, how's it going?
Good. What's happening?
I am, an LA resident. I lived in downtown LA for about a year, a couple of years ago. And I've heard you and Adam Carolla and Mark Garagos talk about how horrible the homeless situation is.
Yeah, it's gotten ridiculous.
So I'm wondering, have you ever thought of any sort of a plan whereby you would have some sort of a triage unit or something where you could just park a big, semi converted into a mobile mental health unit and just actively start treating homeless people for mental illness?
Yes, constantly.
Without just letting them
David,
sit there.
Constantly thinking about this, constantly working with people on ways to do it. The problem is now you can't get near a homeless person. You can't touch a homeless person. You can't do anything with a homeless person the way the laws are, particularly in Southern California. So unless somebody comes in and says, I desperately want help, and then you have to get them the help. And then if they say, oh, no, that's too hard for me, then you got to go, okay, sorry. It's really ridiculous. So we have to change some of the laws. We have to do some sort of FEMA-style intervention where we can do exactly what you're talking about. That is a plan afoot, because finally the LA Times published this week, they admitted that the previous rate of mental illness amongst homeless of 29%, gosh darn it, they got that wrong. It's actually 85%. And I will tell you it's actually 95%. And so, unless we address the mental health piece, and you'll hear the rhetoric, David, constantly of people going, all they need is a place to stay and wraparound services. Wraparound services are psychiatric services. If you don't give them the psychiatric services, they aren't going to stay anywhere, and that takes a while. And unless you have some sort of ability to hold people, keep them somewhere, mandate the care, keep them engaged, then it will go fine. And they'll be pissed. They'll be pissed when they look back on the condition that they were left in. No other country on earth does that.
That had an effect on me when you told me about somebody who you had been involved with that got cleaned up, and their response was, "Why didn't someone do this sooner?"
Oh.
I thought about that a lot.
One person, all the time, routinely.
Is he in more danger than the rest of us because he lives at Ground Zero, Homeless Central?
David's in San Francisco now.
Oh, I thought he said downtown LA.
He was. Now he's moved from the kettle into the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
So how are things up there?
And I think even if you were perfectly sane, you could take a perfectly sane person, and if they were forced to live as a homeless person for even a few months, you'd probably start to go a little bit nuts, right? How can anybody understand that?
You would not stay sane. That's absolutely true, especially if you're doing meth along the way,
exactly.
Which is exceedingly common out there.
Yeah.
But yes.
So has there been, in your, you're a well-known public figure, has there been any politician in LA that you can say is like, this is the one guy that gets it? Is there any sort of hero that you can
I did a podcast
refer us to support or anything like that?
Catherine Barger, the LA City Councilman, Catherine Barger. And then Joe Buscaino, he was a former policeman, so he kind of gets it. He seems like not really clear on exactly what's going on, but he kind of gets it. And I really believe London Breed gets it, but for some reason when she was in the state Senate, she was making perfect sense, and then when she became your mayor, she stopped. So I don't know what's going on there. The mayor of San Diego.
So Catherine Barger,
Barger. And then Mayor of San Diego. Help somebody look up the Mayor of San Diego for me, because he also
We just did a podcast with Catherine Barger on This Life.
Yeah, you could look it up on
It's actually on the Facebook. I don't know if you've seen the Facebook feed, but
there's a Facebook feed where I do a full hour with her. And, and she completely gets it.
Because I think it's important, it's important to point out the problem, but I think I don't know if it's just America, people love to harp about how terrible things are, but there's not a big solution-oriented side of the argument. It's nice to know, there's an actual person that's doing something.
Right. There are clear solutions. They are easy. Every time you hear somebody say it's complicated, tell them to shut up. If they have no training in mental health, tell them to shut up. If they get in the way of helping homeless people, they are a murderer. We are losing 3 a day here in LA County. 3 a day. 3 people are dying a day because all these other people whose names we have not mentioned are theologically bound to some belief system where they refuse to acknowledge what's going on. It's uncanny, David. It's uncanny. I've never seen anything like it. These people are engaging in homicide.
Have you ever thought about doing like a Netflix show or something where it's like Dr. Drew versus all the dum-dums that are refusing to deal with this homeless problem?
I have pitched some homeless type shows around. I like this one though. I might try that.
I don't know if that's the best use of your time.
Drew versus Dum Dums. I like that one. I really like how David frames it because it's really unbelievable.
And I know it's a bummer. The TV world's all about fantasy and excitement and everything, but I don't know. At this point, it's just like it's almost like being a war correspondent.
Yeah.
Or, when you walk around in downtown LA, you think you're in like Mogadishu or something. It's not even, doesn't even seem like it's the United States.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
I was there at 4:35 in the morning when they were leaving because they have to be off the sidewalks at a certain time. And I'd never seen 500, 600 people in the street at one time.
Yeah.
Like they have to clear the sidewalks by 6 a.m. maybe.
In downtown?
Yeah. I was trying to make a time lapse when the sun was coming up, and I just saw this sea of people in the street. It was horrifying.
Well,
I didn't expect it.
There's so many things going crazy. All their feces and urine goes out into the LA River. That goes immediately into our oceans. We're having a massive mammal die-off. We worried about plastic straws in a turtle, and we've got dolphins and sea lions dying all the time now. We can't go in the ocean because of the contamination. We have needles everywhere. It's really just, listen, when people say it's third world, I get pissed because that's an insult to third world countries. This is medieval. Civilizations have always taken care of sick people. We decided sick people don't need to be taken care of anymore, and that's just terrible. It's just terrible. So anyway, David, I'd like to.
All right. Well, I'm gonna start investigating Catherine Barger. That sounds like a good, positive step.
Yeah, she's great. She's really.
But
trying.
I think it's great that you're continuing to talk about it because not that many people do, and it just drives me nuts to think like, wow, in this country we can't even get that together.
Is there anything a regular person can do?
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Like, what can I do? Just a regular Joe Blow? Do I call my council person?
Call your state senator.
Put pressure on them.
Put pressure on them. Call your city councilman. Just say this is not acceptable, and collect pictures and stories about the rat problem, the squalor that you see, and people dying in the streets, and that you will not tolerate it any longer, and that you're holding them accountable. Now, they sit behind a veil of qualified immunity, so it's very difficult to get at them. Okay, David was an awesome caller. I appreciate that. All right, now we have Alice. Alice, you there? Whoops.
Hello.
Hi, Alice.
Hello.
Hey, Alice. How are you?
Hi. Hi. Okay. Kind of spun out from. I was getting a lot of weird feedback and stuff. I have a question regarding long-term use of antidepressants causing brain damage.
Just think about the world we live in with the attorneys and the litigiousness. You think that they wouldn't be suing the drug companies like crazy if there was any chance of brain damage from these medicines?
Yeah, well, yeah, probably. And I mean, I think I'm pretty sharp still, but you know,
they would be.
Never know.
But there are concerns that people do have all kinds of weird concerns about antidepressants, but not brain damage. There's concern that the chemistry you may become dependent on them. Let's say for your mood, but the research on that seems to suggest the opposite. That if you get your mood stabilized, you can get off them and your mood will stay stable.
Okay.
Although
I didn't know that.
Yeah, although there's about a 50% recurrence rate, which is why people end up staying on them. So it's a very challenging
I've tried
topic.
all kinds.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
I've tried all kinds, and frankly, I don't really think they work that well, so I'm going to give them up.
Okay, that's okay. And then, listen, one thing that's always been shown to be true, medicine plus psychotherapy is superior to either alone. So please, don't leave out the talk part. I finally got you in a therapist.
It's probably the best thing. It's one of the best things that's ever happened.
Me too. I did therapy for years and years. It was great. It really changes you.
I want a magic pill, though. I want it. I tell her all the time. I go, just cut my head open and take out part of. I mean it. I would do that.
Do you have any depression at this point around the change you're going through?
Yeah.
It's weird.
I told her, I go, I'm dealing with issues better. I'm handling anxiety considerably better. I'm much more thoughtful.
But I'm sad.
But I'm sad.
Yeah, you know
that's
why?
Exactly right.
It's mourning. You're mourning the loss of the previous.
I'm glad you said that word because I was trying to explain to somebody and I go, it's really scaring the shit out of me.
No, it's normal. It means you're really doing the work.
It's very unpleasant because I think I'm going to be.
I was in it for 2 years. Because at the end of it,
I'm glad to know that was something to be expected because I did not expect it.
A therapist, a famous theorist named, I think Melanie Klein was the one that called it the depressive position. That you're in this, when you're changing, your body, your brain fights any change of yourself or your body.
I'm so glad you said that, and I'm so glad you used that word because I said the exact same thing. I said, I'm handling it better. I'm sorry, I don't mean to repeat myself, but I really saw myself get out of situations that would have sent me down a spiral easily, and I was like, oh, it's just breathe. Yeah. This is good. This is fine.
Right.
And then I thought at the end of the day, well, I woke up, I exercised, I meditated, I got a lot of work done. That would normally leave me on a high, just euphoria. And I would sleep well that night because I got a lot done that day and I did all my work. And I had a day where I got so much stuff done. Yeah. And I was like, I am going to have a great night. And 4 p.m, I was just sad.
Yeah. Because that behavior was not you. As you knew yourself before.
I need to share this with her. No, I mean, this is important because I was like, it's not doing it. I don't like the new me.
No.
I don't
really
like it.
Comical. What you don't like is the change.
I don't like any change.
Yeah. So
literally and figuratively.
Suck it up. Let's talk to this
specifically Nichols.
Stop now. I'm trying to get this. Yes. This is Liz. Liz, go ahead.
Hey, Dr. Drew. Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, too.
Thank you for taking my call.
Right.
I'm going to be brief as I possibly can because I know you got other calls to get to. I'm in Florida. My son's in Columbus, Ohio. He's 28. Been addicted to benzos and opiates for the last 10 years. He's in a hospital right now, and he's looking to go to a long-term facility. He knows he finally admits he needs mental health care as well.
Great.
But my question to you is that a couple of months ago he started getting when he would check into the hospitals, ERs or whatever, his enzyme levels were high, his liver enzymes.
Uh-oh.
And the last place he was at told him that he had Hep C.
Okay.
So, but doesn't seem like anybody really. He was going to get started on the Vivitrol shot, which I had been after him for a long time to get off Suboxone.
Okay.
And to do the Vivitrol shot.
Okay.
And then he told me that they said that they don't recommend the Vivitrol shot if you have Hep C.
Yeah.
So he's back on Suboxone, but to me it sounds like you shouldn't even be on Suboxone either if you have Hep C. Yeah. And it doesn't sound like anybody's putting him on any type of treatment protocol for Hep C. So how serious is that?
That's what's more disturbing to me than anything because we don't know what stage or type of Hep C he's got. There's several different subgroups. And they have different degrees of activity, and we don't know how active this is, and he needs to see a hepatologist in the worst way. Don't worry about the Suboxone. I think it'll be fine. I agree he shouldn't be getting Vivitrol at this moment, but he's got to get that Hep C treated because there is effective treatment out there now, and it's possible to eradicate the whole thing. And some of them can be rapidly progressive, and so he wants to get treated for sure. Okay.
Well, my thing is that. Is there what type of? It seems like all the different treatment programs. I have to give props to Ohio. They have come a long way in providing treatment for people that are homeless.
Yep.
Don't have insurance. They get them on Medicaid. So I do appreciate that for the state of Ohio.
Yep, they're doing Indiana. Ohio's doing very well.
There's a lot of places up there that he can go to. When I looked them up online, they look like they're dual diagnosis centers. But do you have any recommendations, not specifically like a name for Ohio, but some type of a long-term program that he should be looking into that would also be able to help him see outside doctors, for circumstances as such?
Yeah, any quality. Look for a program that has an MD as the medical director because a physician in charge will know what to do with these sorts of cases. Also to look for something that has a rich connection with the recovery community around the treatment center and with the mutual aid societies. But he needs to be under medical care. This requires medical care. And, the thing about Suboxone is they usually are doing other drugs on top of that. And that's obviously not good for the Hep C.
Hepatitis, does that come from intravenous?
Usually.
Can it be transmitted sexually as well?
Rarely.
What's the end result?
Sometimes resolution sometimes, but cirrhosis oftentimes, and liver cancer.
Okay.
So it's very serious.
Expedited liver cancer? Do you mean? I mean the cirrhosis.
Sometimes, but usually over long periods of time. It takes a long time. But it's chronic Hep C, and not all Hep C becomes chronic, and certain subtypes are less likely to do so. He needs to get the subtype set up. He needs to see what stage he's at, and he needs to.
And when you said earlier they can eliminate it, they can literally eliminate it? Because I was under the impression it stuck around for.
Not anymore.
Okay, wow.
No, we got it.
Wow.
We got it.
So would he be better to get rid of that first, then deal with the other issue?
I think he's not. I think you got to do them simultaneously, because it doesn't.
But if he can't mix drugs.
But here's the point: if under medical supervision you can mix drugs, number one, and number two, if he's not under medical supervision, he's not going to take the medicine. If he's a drug addict, you know what I'm saying? So you got to kind of go at both. So.
And now, when you say people are taking stuff on top of Suboxone, is that because they're cheating the system? Like they're taking the Suboxone to stay off of heroin?
Yes.
And then they're also going, I'll do a little coke on the side?
All the time.
Okay.
I'm always smoking pot. I'm always drinking, always whatever. Drinking is disastrous for these patients. That's the one thing that they must not do.
Because the hepatitis is affecting their liver directly?
Yes. But Hep C and alcohol is cirrhosis very commonly.
Okay.
That's a bad combo.
Okay.
All right. Oh, boy. These are tough calls, some of these. Yes, so many. And I got to tell you, like I said, we have to we have to take breaks. These are intense calls. Ethan. Go ahead there, Ethan.
Hey, Dr. Drew. How's it going?
Good, Ethan. What's up?
Question for you. So I recently, starting last year, started seeing a therapist for the first time for depression and anxiety issues. And I'm in between therapists right now. And an issue that I'm having recently, not recently, but for a while, is that I have trouble trusting my own judgments because I don't know if I'm seeing things through a depression kind of lens where I'm just seeing the worst case possible.
Give us an example.
Or if I'm actually
give us an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I'm a senior in college right now and going to graduate soon, and I'm trying to make a plan on what I want to do after I graduate.
Okay.
And just every option I think of, I just tear apart. Like I'm thinking about going to a master's program, and I find every single bad thing possible. And it just turns every single option into a lose-lose kind of in my head.
You're Mike Catherwood. I mean, you're Mike Carano. Mike Carano used to think
twist anything into a lose-lose.
Yeah, Mike Carano's brain worked like this for 30 years.
Yeah.
Right?
I can go sit in the jacuzzi, but what if I get burned? What if I drown? What if I get some weird disease?
So what do you suggest? Because you
wow,
that was the way you.
I don't know. He's making life decisions that are going to take up years of his life, and
you're not going to make those decisions for him. But I'm saying, what do you do with the negativity?
Well, one thing I do is I understand. I don't know it, but I understand my feelings are just feelings. They're not the truth.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And a lot of times my brain, I keep in mind my brain is trying to F me over all the time. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's as simple as, and this took a year for this to get drilled into my head, contrary action. Do the opposite of what your brain does and just stick to it.
But that's alcoholism stuff. Okay. Depression, yeah.
But well, with the depression too, because I don't feel like doing things. I don't feel like I don't feel like getting up and editing. I don't feel like working. I don't feel like going out and doing this. I don't even feel like going and getting food sometimes. But you do it, and then you beat it. You won.
Well, Ethan, what about getting some therapy? What about getting this treated?
Right. So I'm in between therapists right now. I've had a realization recently based on some abuse things from childhood that I need to see a female therapist.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a female therapist right now because I was seeing a male therapist.
All right. See, I think the best way to deal with this is to take it all into a relationship, i.e. a professional relationship, and start trying to, with that individual, regulate your emotions and figure out what's real. Because it is in a co-created situation that we tend to figure stuff out. Left to our own devices, whatever's going on in our brain will prevail. Which is why you need a sponsor.
This is a tough question for me because I, honest to God, that's not a bit, I can't pick out shampoo. I can't pick out sunscreen. I will stand there for 10, 12 minutes just going, which one?
Yeah.
Which one? Helioplex. This one doesn't have Helioplex. What is this? This one's 70. This one's 100. Maybe I have to get the 100. Maybe I'll just get the 50 and chance it a little bit.
And if somebody were there with you, you'd be able to do it.
I don't know.
I've never noticed when we're together you have difficulty. Probably because I would just go, let's go.
Yeah, and you also just, let's order this. And I'm like, yes, it's easy. You just made the decision.
Okay. It's just having another person, even if it's...
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Drew.
All right, Ethan. Take care, buddy.
He could hire a personal assistant to make all his decisions.
No, you don't want people making decisions for you, particularly when it's big life decisions like that. But
I'd like a wise guy with a beard who's always doing this to make my decisions.
But the professionals are trained to help elicit from you, help you elicit from yourself.
Decision making is hard.
What you want to do. That's all. Let's talk to. This is Jane. Hey, Jane.
Hey, Dr. Drew.
Please tell us you're calling from an elevator.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hello?
Yep, we hear you.
I'm a grad student. I just started grad school. Like, I've only been here like 2 months. And I'm also almost like 6 months sober. So whatever, there's that. I, as part of my grad school situation, I work hours with a faculty member who's not like a teacher, but who is someone that works at the university that I work under in like a personal assistant type relationship. And she recently, about a week ago, told me that she has feelings for me, like just flat out told me that she has like pretty major feelings for me.
You need to. Hang on. Is there any kind of? There's got to be some sort of dean of students or somebody you can go to. This is an administrative problem. This is somebody who is not okay, and she may be somebody you like, and I get it, and that's fine. But that is a completely inappropriate move on her part, and so you need to tell somebody.
It's just like, it's theater, not that makes it better, but like, it's a really small department, and it would be like really bad if other people got involved. Like, there's not, and I do like her, like I don't like her like reciprocal, like I don't have romantic feelings for her, but I do like her a lot as a friend, and I thought that we were like, I thought that.
All right. So maybe there's a way. Maybe you could put it in an email to her. So there's documentation that I appreciate it. I like you as a teacher. This is not going anywhere. And then if there's retaliation, then you must tell somebody.
Yeah. How about this? If you shun her advances, is that going to somehow affect you negatively?
Well, that's what I'm saying. She could retaliate.
No, but if she can't retaliate, it's just a no.
Yeah, it's just a no. But I would put the no in an email form so there's a record of this. I really would.
And she's got this phone call.
Including telling her how much you do admire her and like her and stuff, but this just isn't going to happen. And so hopefully we can continue our relationship, without any issues, and let's move on. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's going to be. I can feel it. There's going to be retaliation. So you got to figure out also who you're going to talk to about this.
Yeah, and I did tell my advisor, who's like the head of my department, and I guess like because she's, like I'm 30, and so she's like almost my peer, so it's like. It's not even like there's a big age gap. So
I don't care. I don't care if she's younger than you. You are the person in authority takes care of the person that they have authority over. They don't exploit those people. Period. Age has nothing to do with it. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
This is bad for your this is bad for your sobriety. Please tell your sponsor, okay? Please.
Yeah, I don't. That's a whole nother. I don't do the program, but
then that's part of why you're getting into trouble with holding boundaries. It's very hard to hold boundaries early in sobriety. It's tough.
I know. I do know that there's. Yeah, no. I do know that. I know that I'm calling because I know that I have to be careful. I know that this isn't good, and that my anxiety is through the roof about this, and that it's not good. And I know that. No, I know it's not good. I know it's not good for my sobriety.
Yeah.
I just know that. So, but the email that's a good idea. I will do that.
Okay. And let's call back. We'll be here. I think we're every week now. We're going to be here next week. Yes, we'll be here next week. Call and let know how it goes. But just prepare if there's retaliation. You need support. And that's why I was saying sponsor. But if you have an advisor, age has nothing. It's shocking to me how people in authority take advantage of people they have authority over. Bill Clinton, for one.
It shouldn't
Doctors
be shocking
do
to
that.
you because they're broken people, and it's easy to see the flawed people. Like, I can pick a flawed person out of a crowd in a heartbeat.
You mean that? But that's exploitation. If you have authority over them, that's exactly the person
but it
needs the
shouldn't
boundary
shock
held.
you that it happens
No,
because you get.
Then don't be an authority, because the person you're taking care of is exactly the kind of person that needs a boundary held. That's precisely what that person needs, not the boundary blown through, exploited. That's it.
What I'm saying is, how does that shock you? Because if I were,
it doesn't. It shocks me that people miscarry their authority so much.
Yeah.
So much. It disappoints me. It sort of disgusts me.
Yeah.
Don't take the authority. Don't have authority over people. That's fine.
It's not that easy. It's just like it's not that easy for her to confront this woman.
She's 6 months sober. She's
I know,
struggling.
But there's so much at stake. If you think it's difficult for women to report rape and for people to, this is just the same.
I know. I get it. That's
like,
why
am I going to disrupt my entire school situation by
Look, I didn't say call the police. I didn't say call the dean of students. I said,
but it's a really hard thing to do because it could ruin her education at that place, and she'd have to go elsewhere.
How do you feel about taking the teen mom call?
I'm going to take it. We'll take a teen mom call. Jackie, go ahead.
Hi, Dr. Drew. How are you?
We're good. What's up?
I'm calling because I wanted to ask you about one of your TV shows that you have, Teen Mom 2.
Okay.
And I noticed that some of the moms on there have been texting and taking calls on their cell phone while they're driving with their children in the vans. Is there something that you can do about that?
I'm not involved in the production in any way. I host the after shows when I meet with them for a couple hours and talk with them. I know that the documentarian, the people that are filming their lives consider themselves documentarians and are trying not to intrude in their lives in any way. I'm sure, I don't know if they have talked to them about it. I don't know if they have called law enforcement about it. I don't know. I will bring it up, though. Okay?
Okay, then. That's all I had to ask.
All right, fair enough. They're texting and...
And I'm a big fan of yours, by the way.
Thanks, Jackie. I appreciate it. Are we not allowed to talk on the phone anymore now? Is that what's happening in some states? You can't talk on the phone if you're driving?
Well, they're texting.
No, texting I get is a problem.
Yeah.
That's not good.
I don't know.
But talking, I'm not sure that...
I don't know. I can't
states,
imagine that wouldn't be met with a lot of...
resistance.
Yeah.
So, well, Mike, listen, I appreciate you being here.
I appreciate you having me over.
We still
Thank
have
you.
more calls, and I wish just more that we can get to. We'll be here next week. Same time? Ms. Producer, want to put a headset on and tell us? Go to drdrew.tv, and we'll have all the information there about when and where we're going to do the next one.
I didn't have my headset on.
Yes.
I was trying to get a charger for the computer, and you're asking me a question. Like,
Now
I'm supposed to be able to answer that. Like,
now you can
without
answer it.
Mike going, oh, my God. So, yes, we're going to be back next week with Ask Dr. Drew, and thank you, Caleb, for
pulling this off. Great job.
Orchestrating this
is all new.
studio.
It's pretty elaborate what's going on here. It's much. I just sit here and we just sit and take questions, but the technical part of this is getting pretty complicated.
And we had 83 callers today, which is great. We have 3 left, and I'm sorry we're probably not going to be able to get to you, but we do appreciate you calling in and making this happen today, because we really like the idea of having a caller show.
And we can call them back. We can take their number, whatever, and so we can get them back next week when we talk about it. I appreciate all the calls. I do, yeah, Mike, I appreciate you being here.
Make sure you tell them how to get on the list when we launch a show.
Go to drdrew.tv.
Yes, and that'll take you right to the website, and you can put your phone number in and your email address, and as soon as we go live, it'll come to your phone.
Oh, so we'll tell you when we're going live next time that way. Oh, perfect. So go to drdrew.tv. You'll get a notification when we go live. See, these guys are thinking of everything. I'm just a...
That's the way it's supposed to be.
It's all new to me, too.
You're the host.
Yeah, and then I will be able to take your calls again, and we'll do this all over again. It's a new world. This is sort of the new version of Loveline, really. It's kind of, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember when Mike first did Talk.
It's very daunting because a couple of the questions were so serious. It's going to haunt me a little bit, like the domestic abuse one.
I know.
Like, what do you...
Yeah. These are
I see
we
why
have
people
3 minutes with
stick
each
their head
caller.
in the
There's only
sand.
so much we can do.
I know, but I see why you just want to ignore problems.
Why I want to ignore
No,
them?
people in general.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I don't want that to be in my head all day, and it's going to be.
I know.
But it's easy for me just to go, not my problem. You have manic.
The way I feel of is I can help. I'll do the best I can.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to do that, be able to do that at least. And you helped too. You've shared your story, and I think it's been very helpful for people. I really do.
I feel like the pain management community that was on Facebook that was going wild because we didn't continue the conversation.
I could not do that. I couldn't do it.
We'll bring an expert in. We'll have you can have a debate on another day. And
No. This is not an environment for debate. This is an environment to address issues that people have.
I wish you could fix it all.
I wish I could too.
And I'm sorry for all the people that were upset, but I wish that you understood that we just really wanted to get a different group of calls in.
We had lots of calls, people with serious problems that deserved a little bit of attention. We're not doing debate on this show. And if we do debate, it'll be with me and an expert.
Well, and maybe there is some stuff we can do to make change, but we can't do it on an hour talk show. So
right, we'll figure it out. But today was our launch, and so we wanted to get to all these important calls, and we did. And we barely got to. We still left people behind that really have valuable questions, and I'm sorry about that. And I think you're.
I dig it. Pretty groovy, man.
Yeah, your story.
This
really
is nice.
It's the new world. I just remember when you first did radio with me, you were like, "This is what I want to do."
Well, it was so much fun sitting in a dark room, talking to people and having a voice.
Isn't this the same?
Yeah. But that was a new thing back then.
Yeah,
it was very exciting.
You've been doing all this. You've been doing podcasting.
Yeah.
What about after disaster?
After disaster, Miscellaneous Adventures podcast still going.
Where should we go to see you?
Miscellaneous Adventures from the World of Mike Carano is kind of a self-help thing now, where I just walk around and get angry and then recognize my problems and try to make it funny.
Your website?
MikeCarano.com, Carano, and the After Disaster podcast,
there you go.
Which we just celebrated our 500th episode
Fantastic.
a month and a half ago.
And congratulations to Anderson on his film debut.
Yep.
It's very good.
Yep.
All right, thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, Dr. Drew here, and this is just a reminder that the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care or medical evaluation. This is purely for entertainment and education. We hope you learned something, but see your doctor, get proper medical care.